Rod Krieger, yeah. Rod's joining us. Welcome, Rod. Nice to see you, Rod.
Okay. So we'll come back to public comment whenever Annette says we're ready for that. And move it. Do we have any old business, Katie?
No old business necessarily at this point.
Then we're ready for new business with the rezoning in Benton Charter Township whenever the PowerPoint is available to us.
I suppose I could have sent that to all of them too, just in case. So I came to work without my phone. Darn, anytime we forget to do something in our house, darn coronavirus, we blame everything. Oh, darn coronavirus. Can't do this, can't do that. So, you all received the packet of information from Benton Charter Township. They're proposing to rezone 410 Butternut from E restricted industrial to B, their family, multifamily. And the applicant is St. Augustine something Episcopal Church. And they acquired this property. They've done some fundraising and were able to receive the funding necessary to be able to. I think just get the next button.
Research from the beginning. There we go.
Yeah. And next, like that. Perfect. Yeah. So to be family residential, their township planning commission did recommend approval. It is a vacant lot that is adjacent to several of the harbor habitat homes that were built back in like 2010, maybe even earlier than that. So this is really creating more infill, their future land use. If you recall, Benton Charter Township recently updated their master plan, and this area is identified in what they're classifying as their Main Street Gateway, for which some of the main focus and areas of development is to do some urban infill housing and also to create a variety of housing options. So this is very consistent with their master plan, and the township recommends approval. Next slide. So here's the parcel. This is just south of Territorial, so it's between Territorial and Main Street on Butternut, and there are several other properties that were new builds or constructions with habitat, so it's kind of like a habitat neighborhood. And their proposed development is to build a small, like 1,000 square foot home that they'll be able to make as a rent for homeowners. And so it's filling a need for affordable rental units. And what was interesting, at least in the packet when I reviewed it, is that they had partnership with Habitat for Humanities. They also partnered with Andrews University, their Graduate School of Architecture, and the partnership that they have with the Renaissance Kids program. For the last year, I think, or the last 2 years, they've done these workshops or camps for kids, and the kids get to build a tiny house with guidance and supervision from the School of Architecture. So really neat project. It's kind of neat to see it actually have a purpose and be able to see it actually not just be a an exercise, but an actual application. So that is the site. Next slide, please. Again, this is just a snapshot from their master plan. The blue area is that Main Street corridor, gateway, and the parcel is kind of almost centered in that blue section. And that's all I have. Any other questions?
Eric Lester, move approval.
In 5 years.
Support.
And Vicky, could you identify yourself, please?
Did you hear me? Support?
I got that. Foster,
I'm
I'm sorry we lost you. I have just come on board. I'll have to not vote.
Freeling,
Oh, yeah, you can say yes.
Hoyt,
Yes.
Krieger,
I can't get to because I'm sharing with someone.
Rod,
These are still lines.
Somebody needs to unmute Rod.
I'll ask him to unmute himself.
Rod is yes.
thank
There you
you.
go.
Lammert,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes,
Meister,
Yes.
Schooneman,
Yes.
Wagner.
Now you're muted, Vicky.
I only unmute myself if I want to talk.
So you're a yes, Vicky?
I said aye, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. So we have 8 yeas and 1 abstain.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you all. Next, our primary topic of the review of the master plan, which Katie had a great aggressive schedule for, that got blown up by the pandemic. So now we're modifying that as need be to achieve our objective, but I want to make sure we get the plan done right. So Katie, I'm just going to turn things over to you.
Okay. So this is actually, you've seen this slide. I just used the same slide to recap from our February meeting that under the Planning Enabling Act, we are required to review our master plan every 5 years. And so we're at that time. We've hit that point. We are in that process. And so it's kind of there's really a two-step process in doing it. One is to us as a planning commission to take a look at the master plan and do what's just truly that, a review. Like, hey, does this all seem relevant? Do we need to make any changes? Do we need to totally scrap it and redo it? Take it into account, like what's happening, what's going on, and more specifically, where do we want to see ourselves in the next 5 to 20 years? And so that's really where we left off. We were in the review stages, like to just kind of get our senses of what's going on, what we want to do. And I think over the last couple months and some of the comments we've received is that we do need to do an update. So an update is definitely something in the works, and that's really where we're at today, is that we're now moving from the review phase into the update. And so under the update, under section 39, it has, the first thing we need to do is just notify everybody, all the adjacent properties and those entities within section 39 to let them know we are in that phase, we're updating our master plan. We request and would like their participation and their cooperation. So if they have studies and reports or if we don't have their master plan, maybe we need to look at that as well. So that's really where we're at. And so today, I think after some more discussion, we'll move forward and do that announcement and notification of an update. Next slide, please.
It's forever.
So again, this just pretty much recaps what we've been at, where we were, where we are. Is it still relevant or does it need to be changed? Next slide.
Katie, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
How are you going to update the economic area?
How am I going to update the economic section?
Well, COVID is, we're looking at a decade of trying to rebuild. I was wondering what sources are you going to use for the economic section?
Well, I think in coordination with our economic development partners, that being Cornerstone and Southeast, whatever they're called, Southeast Growth Alliance. We'll be utilizing some of the resources and studies that they have, as well as there's lots of research and things to that nature. Really, what we need to do is we can look at our existing goals and the objectives of those goals, and use that as some of our framework, and acknowledge, as far as from a planning perspective, an element of sustainability and resiliency that can help businesses and help our economic environment and survive and revive, essentially. So it encompasses, it's just one part of the whole concept of the master plan, and it certainly will have I think some of the information in our economic development goals and objectives is still very relevant, which I just listed the objectives and the goals and objectives of each of our existing plan in the next few slides. So it certainly could have some consideration and updates to reflect how are we preparing and how do we anticipate and envision. Manufacturing is still live, it's still happening here. It's just we've been at as the whole country and the state, we've been at a standstill, and now the recovery efforts will be ongoing. So to answer your question, it's a work in progress. I don't have the answers today. That's why we do a master plan, to plan for that. Is that what you were anticipating, or did I answer your question?
My only question would be is if we have any resources from the Michigan Economic Council, MEC. Because down here in the southern part with tourism, a lot of our businesses and restaurants are really struggling.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, I think that's being able to provide those opportunities and assure businesses and entities where to go to access that kind of assistance. That would be what would be put in and explored in our master plan.
I was just looking at the the employment and the components by industry section, and how we were going to make those relevant. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's certainly what data we had from a year ago that might be relevant for what we were initially projecting in our update is certainly going to be significantly different if we were to pull data today. So I think there's just an acknowledgement of, and more importantly, what is that what is that little word underneath? Footnotes. Footnotes on the data when we do provide that information and updates. It kind of needs to be an asterisk, like, hey, so going back to that, even though we do the update for our master plan now, there's nothing that prevents us to take a look at it in a year from now. Each year, just make it be a part of our agenda item to say, let's take a look at if we, some part of our master plan each year to just ensure that it's relevant and purposeful. It has meaning and value for us. Next slide. So, kind of to give it, a new look, give it a new, fresh idea. I did mention this yesterday in our little practice for today's meeting, but some ideas for updating our master plan. One thing that I really feel is important and truly something we've talked about over the last couple of years as we reviewed zoning ordinances and master plans, particularly amongst our townships, is to be able to categorize and kind of summarize all of the master plans within the county. So kind of having this be that one bird's eye view, overlapping what all of our master plans, because we do recognize that every community is unique and different, and we celebrate that. So this is an opportunity for us to acknowledge that, categorize that, and also then find some themes and areas of focus that then, if there's a new program that can come about, that it is in support of not just our master plan, but also all of the municipalities that we are part of. So, anybody have a question or comment?
This is Jim Schoeneman. When you asked us to take a look at the Kalamazoo County Planning Master Plan, I think when I first looked through that, it was just like, wow, that thing is head and above what we've got here in our plan from 2015. I mean,
Right.
it just jumped out, and it was quite. I thought it was a very good document, and again, one of those things that was in that document was the compilation of all the plans from all the different communities and villages, et cetera, which they all kind of put together. So that was a good thing.
Yeah. So I mean, that is, I'm stealing that model. I like it a lot. I think it really, and it also has served several other purposes that that I think kind of pull together all of the things that we've talked about over the last couple of years, particularly on, best practices and models and ideas, and trying to be that one-stop shop, or, be truly a support and maybe it's a facilitator for that sake of trying to keep communities so that they're eligible for funding and resources, that we are comprehensive in our scope and our vision, and also the values. So that way, it would help with the purchase development rights program for agriculture. It could certainly support and be extra incentives, or just demonstrating more cooperative agreements with communities for all of the recreational plans and park plans that all of the communities are trying to access and be able to have the opportunity to apply for. So it kind of gives a full, it's still generalized, as we can't control everything, right? But it also provides a really great resource for somebody not from the county or somebody that is new to the area, and also for the communities that we want to help bring them up to speed and be in compliance with the PA 33. So that is kind of the new look or the new idea that I like, but I still think that our goals and our objectives that we've initially have in our master plan, I think they still are valid and certainly can be reviewed and an exercise that everyone can participate in. So one thing that I do have, which I can get to by the end of this week, is our goals and objectives and recommendation work, like a worksheet that we could use that just kind of gives you a quick reference, so you don't have to stare at the master plan itself, but just a quick reference of kind of hitting on our goals and the objectives of each, and see if, you know, pretty much include, don't include, include with the following changes, and need more information, like, and then maybe suggestions of what is your vision or thought process in that. So I can send those to you in a Word or a PDF document, so that way you can kind of take a look at them in a more simple, you know, straightforward. Here's the goal. Here's the objective. Does this still make sense? And just to recap that, if you hit the next slide, so here's an example, like for goals under our agriculture, our main goal is to create an environment where a wide variety of agriculture operations can continue to thrive in the county. I might say country, sorry. And where agricultural lands can be preserved for generations. Our objectives within that is to enable and empower local governments to preserve ag land. We have the sheriff peeping in. And coordinate public services for areas designated for growth, create supportive environments for ag product processing and ag zoning districts, support agritourism. So heartbreak right now, and encourage and support programs that will maintain the viability of ag through new and expanding markets for locally grown products. So that's just a quick snapshot. These are here, and then within those objectives, there are also more specific points for each, which we can, you know, you can take a minute or two to go through and maybe just check it like, yeah, it's still good, or no, I don't want it in there anymore, or it's completely changed. We have a whole new thing to think about. Next, please. So that's just agriculture. Here's for economic development, to create a common vision with strategies to foster coordination among economic and community development agencies and between these groups and governments. And under this, some objectives we have is to eliminate duplicative community development processes. And we've kind of done that already. There has been some consolidation of resources and making sure that there's better coordination as well. So we're not duplicating the same thing. Focus efforts on community development groups, on economic drivers of the community. Create economic and community development regional focus. And then integrate transportation systems with community development, and then improve infrastructure and information. So those are, again, within these objectives, there's also other more detailed areas of focus. Next, please. Under goals for green infrastructure, JB had made a comment in his comments to me earlier, which I appreciate, JB. That was really helpful to kind of look at that. And that was done in the front end of the stay-at-home order. So that was good use of my time to review your remarks and comments. But one of them is to consider renaming this section Sustainability and Resilient. Under this, our goal is to protect, preserve, restore the natural resources of Berrien County by creating a connected network of open spaces, recreational areas, and natural habitats. Some of the objectives is to protect and improve the quality of our water resources with comprehensive programs of planning, maintenance, and best management practices, preserve wetlands, woodlands, floodplains, critical dunes, and other natural features through resource assessments, model regulation, and leveraging open spaces and trail programs. We've seen a lot of that happening as well. So kind of these are also where we can do some, check-ins like, hey, has this happened, or have we not touched this yet? We still need to focus. Empower local governments and other agencies to preserve and protect natural resources and open spaces, and promote a multi-jurisdictional approach to sustainability planning. Under housing, here we have to provide safe, decent, and affordable housing for Berrien County residents of all ages, abilities, and incomes in Berrien County and with individual communities. So under here, these goals are maintain existing housing stock in neighborhoods in the county, ensure housing for senior citizens with each community in Berrien County, ensure housing for all residents of all abilities in Berrien County, ensure housing for residents of all incomes in Berrien County, and end homelessness. Improve communication and coordination between governmental agencies and practitioners in the housing field.
Hey, if I could jump in for just a minute on this one. This is an area that the Strategic Leadership Council is putting a lot of emphasis on. And I think there are some things we can do to really tighten up and make our stuff more specific and less general, and to coordinate with that group, which is trying to really address the whole affordable housing effort. And I've definitely sent Katie some information from the SLC.
Yeah, and I've actually, I've reached out to try to get some more information and maybe understand better what the Strategic Leadership Council is doing and the research that's behind it. And ultimately, so what I understand, and Dan kind of confirmed with me this morning or this afternoon, is that the study that is, there is being a study or a research looking into this and addressing housing in Berrien County, and it's a lot of this information is coming from the Upton, not Upton, sorry.
Upton.
Upjohn, I knew it was an Upjohn Institute, and what they've done is essentially to kind of put together a toolkit to do some assisting in policies for recognizing and being able to apply or take some of these applications to a local level. Some examples would be when we've seen in zoning ordinances, how they, what they require for minimum lot sizes and minimum area for new construction and development. So areas where they're almost kind of over-regulating density can certainly have an implication to creating new housing or infill and affordability. And so the study, I think what will come out of this study will certainly provide great tools and resources that can be listed or even maybe put in as an appendix to our master plan. But essentially, I think there is what will come out of that is going to be some great analysis as well as just some basic guides to assist municipalities and community agencies and hopefully maybe some nonprofit builders and developers.
Katie,
Yes.
on page 70 or 30, I'm sorry, on our plan. I probably asked you this 5 years ago, but I've got to ask it again because I probably forgot.
Okay.
But between 2010 and 2015, which when the study was published, we had 99 homes built in 5 years, as opposed to roughly 3,000 in the previous 5-year increments. Is that correct?
That's a lot.
So that data is as good as the data that we received. So,
Okay.
And
That was the 2008 housing crisis. Do you remember the economic crisis?
Was it that? I know, I remember that.
Yeah.
Was it that bad?
2008 and 9, yes.
Yep.
But
yeah,
that goes all the way to 2015, Vicky.
Oh,
That's a 5-year period. Only
Yeah.
99 homes?
Well, we're gonna be updating it data now, Rod, so it'll be very different.
Pardon?
That data's got to be updated anyway, because it's, again,
I know. I just, okay.
it'll be very,
That's-
very different.
It's astonishing. All right, well, thank you.
and I will say that that data or that information was provided from the municipalities.
Yeah, okay,
We
well,
requested that information of how many permits were pulled and how many were
that's
built.
astonishing. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
I don't know if I have another. So again, I also wanted to ensure, or at least remind you of some of the other plans and studies that are going outside of our planning commission that will be certainly useful and significant resources for us as we do our updates. Again, some of these are the hazard mitigation plan that's being undertaken right now and updated. Census, well, I hope to God that the census is working and being able to be completed and conducted as best as it can be. There is the trails plan from the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission and the county parks. The strategic leadership is doing that housing study and analysis. And I will also indicate that that's also taking a look at the breadth of market and income. So it's it's not, some people have an implied perception of what affordable housing is. And this study is, I think, going to incorporate that, but it's really also not just looking at affordable in the sense of subsidized or low-income housing. It's really intended to be housing that's affordable that the market can support, as well as a family or a household or a prospective buyer or renter, and it's based off of their income. So it's not just simplistic in the sense of affordable housing. It's going to kind of take a broader view on that and expand with some significant analysis of that and how that is broken out throughout the county, and then what is the need or that missing within that scope. So I think it's going to be pretty, I'm at least, maybe I have a higher expectation of what this study will be, but I'm really interested to see the breadth and the analysis of it, because I think it's more than just, oh, we need, you know, apartments, or we need this or that. It's really gonna lay everything, it's gonna put it in a more, or a better picture of what is happening here in regards to our housing and the need, the future needs of our housing and the condition.
Katie, I think that's a really good example of being a little bit more prescriptive. I've seen some of the preliminary work from that study, and it specifically shows we need this kind of home in this area, and here's what's affordable or not affordable and how to get there. Again, working up from what a homeowner can afford, homeowner or renter can afford, as opposed to, well, we can build it for X. So you can build it for X, but that's not going to hit the target market we're after. And so it's really much more comprehensive than anything that I've seen historically.
Mhm. Right.
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Freeling. And I would like to also state the same thing. I'm glad Katie brought up the study about the Upjohn Institute's housing toolkit. In conjunction with that, and I just forwarded everyone an email of a presentation that was done for Southwest Michigan Planning Commission. In conjunction with that, and JB, this might be something you're referencing, there's also a talent match study that's going on hand in hand, sort of seeing what the market is needing, what businesses are, in essence, they're doing forecasting of what's going to be needed for our talent pool and what type of housing is going to be desirable for that talent pool.
Good stuff.
Just wanted to state that.
Thanks. There's the broadband study. I think, I don't know, Terry, if you want to add more to that, I think you're more aware of like what the status or moving forward on that.
Certainly. So with regards to broadband, I think most of us have come to recognize that there is a huge digital divide. COVID has made that a very much in your face reality. I'm suffering from it myself today, which is why you don't have my face on there, because the wind is blowing so hard. I can only create a stable connection for audio, hopefully a good enough connection. But we are working with Southwest Michigan Planning Commission, and currently what we are doing is collecting data on where those gaps are throughout the county. We're working with Merit and their Moonshot project to be able to get that data and then start to find some private partnerships to align with to start to build the infrastructure. We're hoping to start to do the data collection maybe as early as late summer of 2020. So that's encouraging.
If I could mention, Terry, the Pokagon Fund paid a lot of money to try to figure out those kind of connections down here in the southwestern part. You might want to take a look at the work that they did.
They are definitely at the table in the discussion, Vicki. So we've tried to do a brain trust of collecting all of that information. And John Engelhoff has kind of been the keeper of a lot of that synergies and those connections. And definitely the Pokagon Fund and the tribe have been at the table for all of these discussions. Thank you.
So then there's also the harbor study or the harbor plan, transportation. I'll just give a quick sidebar on that. In Berrien Bus and the pilot program. The pilot program actually is just, it's been put on hold for the time being. And there's the bus provider has given us notice that they are no longer going to be in operation as of June 30th of month. So the Board of Commissioners have approved to temporarily take Berrien bus in-house, and we will handle the day-to-day operation and oversight for Berrien bus, and review that, and it is temporary in order to determine if we are gonna bid it out to a provider or keep it in-house. So that is, transportation is certainly is significantly seeing some changes over the next year. And then we also have parks and industrial real estate study that's being conducted. So these are also, I'm only reminding you that there are other plans and studies that we aren't, that what we're gonna be doing over the next several months is not gonna be, we're gonna be utilizing several of the other studies and resources that are out already and being conducted. So it'll give some more breadth to our master plan, and I think these are all great too. Anything else? Yeah. So that's where we're at, and I think as you all kind of agree, or at least I'm in agreement to moving on beyond the review phase, and now we're into let's get our feet on the ground and start doing the updates.
Katie, what specific next steps do you see that you want input from us on?
Like I said, those goals and the objectives, I have a worksheet that I'm gonna send to you all and have you look at that. That's something that's basically immediately from our master plan currently. So we can incorporate that into the new plan or the update. And then I'll also throw out some other ideas or suggestions if there's anybody that wants to take a stab at reviewing a municipality's master plan and kind of do some quick summary and analysis. We can do that as well.
Great. Well, we'll look forward to that, and please give us a timeline when you'd like to have the responses back from us so that we can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mr.
Sure.
Chair, this is Commissioner Freeling. One other thing that I would ask that we consider is looping in the new strategic goals of the Board of Commissioners. Some of those are touched on, Katie, in what you presented, but there are a few items that are on there that I just want to make sure that those are aligned.
Excellent point, Terry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And with that, I don't have anything else to share.
Anything else to come before the commission this afternoon?
Can you just, JB, ask for public comments one more time?
Thank you. Yes. Do we have any public comments this afternoon?
So you currently have 2 people watching. I think I'm one of them. And
I'm probably the other.
I have asked a couple of different times, and it does not appear as though you have any public comments, and they had plenty of opportunity, so.
Great. Well, we thank those of you from the public for participating, even if you're participating in this afternoon. Anything else? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
That was Rod Krieger. Do we have a second?
I second it. This is Greg.
Thank you, Greg. All in favor?
We have to do a roll call vote.
Aye.
You have to do a roll call vote.
Okay.
Foster? Oh, Lois, you're muted again.
Bye-bye.
Jim, you're not muted.
No.
You're okay.
Can the host unmute Lois, please?
I asked, I can only ask her to unmute. I'm not the one who muted her, so I've done that. Lois, you need to unmute your microphone.
So go to the little microphone sign and then hit it.
Ask to unmute. I've done.
Or put your thumb up.
Lois, can you unmute your phone or put your thumb up as an I for your vote to adjourn, please?
Okay.
Okay.
Freeling,
Yes.
Hoyt,
Aye.
Krieger,
Aye.
Lammert,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Meister,
Yes.
Schooneman,
Say yes.
Yes.
and Wagner.
Aye.
Okay. 9 ayes.
All right. Well, thank you all for your participation today and working through some learning curve here this afternoon. We'll see what July brings us. I don't know if there are any promises. This is obviously an ongoing situation, but Katie and Jennifer will keep us informed.
It's a long.
Thank
Thank you, JD.
Bye, everyone. Be safe.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Have a
Katie.
good rest of the afternoon.